Thank you, Sophie. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight. Harry Dennis was killed by an unsecured scaffold plank falling from a van. Now a new police campaign targets driver safety.
Everything had been all right for that particular driver until the 15th of December 22, when it wasn't all right, and Harry had to pay the price for that.
Racism, bullying, discrimination. A Kent hospital trust says it's deeply sorry after an independent review looked at staff culture.
In a special programme tonight, we'll be counting down to the arrival of the Women's Rugby World Cup in Brighton. The Red Roses have arrived and thousands of international fans are descending on the city. We take a look at how the area is rolling out the red carpet for this truly global spectacle.
To have that game at Brighton is super special, and hopefully some Australia fans can get over and support their girls as much as we have our Red Roses fans.
Meanwhile, excitement is building inside this special fan zone, a place to watch matches, inspire and bring communities together. As the sport breaks records and smashes boundaries, we visit one club hoping to harness all the momentum for future generations.
With the home World Cup, we are going to see so many more girls playing rugby, so many more girls trying rugby maybe, and even if they find that's not for them, finding sport.
Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. First, the mother of a schoolboy killed when an unsecured scaffold plank fell from a truck is making an urgent plea for drivers of commercial vehicles to check their loads are safe before they set off. 11-year-old Harry Dennis was a front seat passenger in his dad's car when he was hit by the plank in East Sussex in 2022. Today, his mother Maria has been helping police officers educate drivers on the A23. She told our Home Affairs correspondent Charlie Rose she would shout from the rooftops about the dangers of unsecured loads.
The law says you've got to stop that moving forward 100%, all right?
PC Barry Freeman speaks to the driver of this scaffolding truck about carrying safe loads.
If we can come along and pull them out like that, what are you doing? How's that preventing it from coming out?
Maria Dennis knows what can happen when something isn't secured correctly. Her son Harry was in the front passenger seat of a car being driven by his dad when he was hit by a scaffolding board.
Everything had been all right for that particular driver until the 15th of December 22, when it wasn't all right, and Harry had to pay the price for that. So always check your load. It's 2 minutes, 5 minutes of your morning. That's it.
And Maria was surprised to find this driver already knew her story because his son knew Harry.
Bit of a shock, to be fair. Even when my boy told me, it was a massive shock, especially when you find out it's another fellow scaffolder as well. So it kind of saying in the back of your head all the time, isn't it? But always try and check your load, try and make it as safe as possible.
He wasn't penalised, but this farmer was fined after police found the machinery he was towing hadn't been properly secured.
Yeah, it's an inconvenience. I'm a busy farmer and I've got a lot to do today, but you see how busy the road is behind us. Everyone's using it, everyone's got to be safe. So I hold my hands up, I'll get it fixed and hopefully get moved on.
This is one of many events of its kind across the country, thanks in no small part to Maria.
She came to us and said, I want to help, I want to come on board with this and talk to drivers, and it turned out she was doing it off her own back, stopping people at the roadside. We've had so many other forces approach us and say, we want a piece of this, we want to get behind this story and we want to support you.
This is something I would normally shy away from, but I feel I need to get out. I would shout from the rooftops to a million viewers about what's happened for Harry, and we need to do it for Harry. Yeah, so he's my drive, he's my passion, he's the fire in my belly. Yeah.
This year, building supply company Travis Perkins was fined £2 million after loose timber fell from one of its lorries, killing the driver of a passing car in Newhaven. Police say events like this are playing a positive role in raising awareness of the dangers of unsafe loads.
Well, Charlie is by the A23 at Hand Cross for us this evening. Drivers, Charlie, what are the penalties that drivers can have if their loads aren't secured?
Well, Ellie, we're talking about a £100 fine and possibly points on your licence, but police were keen to stress that today was really about educating drivers, even simple things such as using netting to secure a load. I'm told that all too often drivers are carrying netting but simply aren't using it. Also today, Ellie, drivers were given this leaflet. On one side is information and advice from the police, on the other a poem written by Maria Dennis about her son Harry. It's called Please Secure Your Load, and I'm told that more than one driver today who read it left this site with a tear in their eye.
Charlie, thank you. A Kent Hospital Trust says it's deeply sorry after allegations of bullying, discrimination and racism were made by its staff. The claims are contained in an independent review into culture at the Medway NHS Foundation Trust, which runs a hospital in Gillingham serving more than 400,000 people. Well, our health correspondent Mark Norman is here with more on this. And Mark, this is a report that the Trust itself commissioned.
It did, but it can't have been much fun when it landed on the leadership's desk. I mean, if we dig into a little bit of what staff told them, they described feeling pushed out, ignored, even retaliated against if they did raise concerns. They talked about experiencing racism and cultural bias and unequal treatment, and in particular that applied to Black, Asian and minority ethnic staff. And they said that the leadership was simply not visible enough, and it wasn't always accountable. As you can imagine, there's been some quite strong reaction to the report today.
This is not the first time we've heard about cultural issues when it comes to how staff feel at Medway Hospital. So I hope that this time round that the action happens that is necessary, because I don't want to see a report like this again. Of course, it's about the staff's welfare. Of course, we need to make sure that staff feel happy and they feel content in their workplace. But it also has an impact on performance of the hospital, and we've got to address it.
So, Mark, what have the Trust said?
I spoke to them today. They were being very apologetic about it, talking about having to rebuild trust. They issued a statement as well. In it, they talked about there was no place for bullying, discrimination or racism within their trust. They said they were determined to make changes to make a safer, more inclusive and fairer place for staff to work. But look, it's an extremely difficult day for the Trust. They've got a lot of work to do to try and rebuild that trust with their 5,000 staff.
Mark, thank you. Police say they've arrested a man on suspicion of murder following the death of a 25-year-old man in Worthing. Emergency services were called to Linden Road on Wednesday. A 22-year-old man is in custody. A contraflow system to manage lorries on the M20 when there is traffic at the Port of Dover could be used more frequently, according to the County Council. It expects Operation Brock to be deployed beyond busy tourist periods once a planned entry-exit system goes live. That will see biometric checks replace stamps in people's passports when they travel in and out of the European Union. The leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, has said his party is headed ever closer towards winning the next general election. Speaking at their autumn conference in Birmingham, he promised to stop small boat arrivals on the Kent coast within 2 weeks of coming to power. It comes after Reform UK secured an overwhelming majority at the Kent County Council elections in May. And as our political editor Charlotte Wright reports, they're still celebrating.
It's a political party conference. And for Reform UK, they certainly put the emphasis on party. They have got reason to celebrate. They're riding high in the polls, and back in May they swept to a decisive victory in the Kent County Council elections. But after success comes scrutiny. During the election campaign, Reform promised to stop housing asylum seekers, eradicate potholes and stop the boats. But you haven't actually done any of those things, have you?
Well, sadly, none of those things are actually within my gift as a county councillor. I mean, I think...
Promise it then?
Well, I think it's what Reform will promise to do when we get into government. And, you know, I feel we've made great changes in Kent County Council already, and there's so much more to come.
They know they'll need to prove themselves at local authority level because Reform UK have their eyes on bigger things.
We are all ships rising on a turquoise tide, headed ever closer towards winning the next general election.
This is called the next step, and of course the next step is number 10. So that's what we're all working towards, getting Nigel into number 10.
Do you think you can?
It's just looking that way, isn't it? I think a year ago, had you asked around, people would have laughed. But I don't think, as Nigel has said, I don't think anybody's laughing now.
At the two-day event here in Birmingham, there's lots of discussion around issues like immigration, cutting climate change targets and criminal justice, things that they think will help win them the next general election. But in our region, the next big electoral test actually comes next May, when voters in Sussex will be asked to elect a mayor. It's one of the first counties taking part in a shake-up to our local council system, creating a high-profile political role, similar to that in London and Manchester. The verdict on reform, though, among those we met in Crawley today, was mixed.
Brilliant. Yeah, I agree with everything Nigel Farage is doing, saying, everything like that.
Everything seems to be swinging to the right at the moment. Everything seems to be nasty.
A lot of policies, but nothing to really back it up.
I think people have just got to a point where they're so desperate with how things are and being failed by so many parties, and Reform UK seem to be trying to go in on that angle.
These elections will be crucial as the party sees them as an essential building block towards the next general election. But with that still 4 years away, they'll need to maintain some momentum. Charlotte Wright, BBC South East Today, Birmingham.
And just a reminder, we will be hearing from all the main parties during the conference season. Now, tomorrow, the eyes of rugby fans all around the world will be focused firmly on Brighton. The city hosts England's highly anticipated clash with Australia in the Women's Rugby World Cup. In a moment, we're going to speak to Juliet. She's with supporters inside a special fan zone. There she is. First, so let's catch up with James. He's pitch side at the Brighton and Hove Albion Stadium, where the Red Roses will play in front of a capacity crowd. James, this tournament's already shaping up to be a landmark moment for women's sport.
Absolutely. In just 2 weeks, it has proven that women's rugby can fill stadiums and captivate audiences. Now, you can see the team here are just preparing the pitch, which usually hosts Premier League football teams. This weekend, it will be hosting 4 nations ranked among the best in the world. Here's Claire Starr with everything you need to know about the competition.
Brighton is preparing to welcome some of the biggest stars of the game. The venue, a stadium with a 31,000 capacity. This weekend, it hosts England versus Australia in Pool A and Ireland against New Zealand in Pool C. So how does the tournament work? Well, 16 teams are split into 4 pools. In each pool, teams play each other once before the top 2 sides go into the quarter-finals. Brighton has hosted men's international rugby before, with Japan's famous World Cup win over South Africa in 2015 contributing to a £27.5 million tourism boost to the city. Guildford did stage matches at the 2010 Women's World Cup, but this will be the first time the women's tournament has come to Sussex. Growing the game has been highlighted as a priority by tournament organisers. Adult women playing rugby currently number 40,000. The plan is to get to 100,000 by 2027. In Brighton alone, the City Council wants 2,500 new people involved in the sport, including non-contact forms. Rising TV audiences will certainly help. Last year, more than 8 million watched the Women's Six Nations. That's up a third on 2023. But could a much larger global audience this summer help women's rugby enter a new era?
Claire Starr reporting there. Now, being a host city brings with it multiple benefits, from international visitors, spending money in bars and restaurants, to inspiring the next generation of rugby stars. We've been taking a look at many of the places around the city and exactly what it stands to gain from being a part of this tournament. From the city to the stadium, international rugby has Sussex in its grip.
Today, it's business mode for the Red Roses, getting a taste of the stadium where they face Australia tomorrow. For fans, the party has just begun.
We're really proud and so happy that the women's rugby is here.
Everyone in Ireland, especially in women's rugby, is going to be here. Everyone's looking for tickets.
England are the favourites for the tournament, so why shouldn't Brighton be involved?
Tournament favourites England have destroyed everything in their path so far. They beat Samoa 92-3 last weekend with a hat-trick for Jess Breach from Sussex. She used to play down the road at Brighton Rugby Club. At yesterday's media scrum, it was announced she'll get her 50th cap tomorrow in her home county.
So exciting. I think rugby, we obviously try to go across the country, but I don't think we've quite reached that southeast corner. So it's really, really exciting to play somewhere that I can really call home, for instance, and be in that Sussex bracket. I think obviously from the 2015 Men's World Cup, there were super exciting games there. Obviously Japan beating South Africa. So I think for us, hopefully we can do the same thing, bring such entertaining rugby to the fans of Brighton.
This week, the tournament has taken over not just Brighton, but beyond. While champions New Zealand were training at Brighton College, outside the city, Australia were at Heathfield and Waldron.
It's awesome. We get to run at people.
Stars from all over the world have been face to face with fans all week.
We've been under the pump with some questions by the little ones, but nothing we can't tackle.
This fan zone's amazing. The fact that people can just come in, be able to experience different parts of rugby as well. For the young girls coming through, we want to be visible to them so then they can see role models, then they can go on to play rugby if they want to, or just even go and enjoy some sort of physical activity.
It's estimated that 3 fixtures in the Women's Euros were worth £8 million to the local economy 3 years ago. Here, hoping for a business boost, the city's preparing for a melting pot of fans.
So our cream tea is one of a very popular flavour as well, and we added a rose to it to make it represent the English nation. We also have got an Irish coffee representing Ireland. We've got a kiwi pavlova, the national dessert in New Zealand. Australia is represented by a Vegemite creme brulee.
It's amazing that the country is getting behind women's sport, and I think England leads. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's game, and especially when we've got quite a lot of Australians working behind the bar.
It's hard not to compare this World Cup weekend to the Lionesses' visit to Brighton 3 years ago. The hope is yet again for a victory on the road to Red Roses' glory. A home World Cup win that will change the profile of the game forever.
Well, fingers crossed for England over the weekend. To talk about their chances, I have got Shauna Brown from Gillingham, played in the last World Cup for England. Shauna, first of all, let's just talk about this World Cup. How big is the profile compared to even last World Cup, which you were involved in?
They are completely worlds and oceans apart, and I guess the difference is last time it was in New Zealand, other side of the world, things like time zone, it's just not practical for our fans and us on this side of the world to be as involved. But here right now, I am genuinely more excited, we're in it, about this World Cup than I was playing in the last one, and I have a different role now, but this is the stuff dreams are made of. Whether you're playing on pitch, refereeing, coaching, but also people behind the scenes in the media, so much going on.
And it does help that it's a home World Cup and that this is a good England side. World number one doesn't quite tell the whole story. Just how good are they?
Very, very, very good. I mean, they've gone 29 games unbeaten, but even before that, it was 30 previous to that. The game that we did lose was the last World Cup final that I played in. Still not quite over that. But the team as a whole, for me, the best England team that has ever played. They're the highest ranked team ever across men's and women's world rugby rankings. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry to bring it up, but just on that World Cup final, you know players like Alex Matthews, who captains the team this weekend, very well. How difficult was that, and how will that motivate the team going forward?
There's still plenty of players in the team that will be tomorrow who played in that World Cup, and for me, for so many, it's never gone away. And I know the players were made to sit and watch that back and just remember that feeling of how empty and gutting that felt, and so that will certainly be used as a motivation for them, not only tomorrow but to going throughout the tournaments into knockout stages. But yeah, it will certainly be playing on the minds, and maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, that England are the favourites, and for me, England have to win. I really hope them to win without pushing even more pressure.
Well, we all do, Shauna. Thank you very much. I know you'll be at the games. We talked about England. We barely even had time to talk about Ireland versus New Zealand, another big one on Sunday. Tomorrow, it is heading towards a sellout. It's going to be quite a weekend.
Enjoy it all, James. Thank you very much for now. Well, from the Euros to the 100 and the Rugby World Cup, women's sport is breaking records, smashing boundaries and being visible in a way that could just not have been imagined even a few years ago. Soon, the focus will turn to legacy. How can this momentum be harnessed for generations to come? Well, let's talk to Juliet Parkin now. Juliet's at a special fan zone in the city, which is very much designed to inspire and create that community impact.
Yes, that's right, Ellie, and we've had glorious weather for it here today. We've had live music, we've had dancing, we've had rugby games and other sports, and we've chatted to visitors here to this city, here to soak up the party atmosphere ahead of those two big games this weekend. Well, for local rugby clubs here in this city, they're certainly very excited about having a World Cup right here on their doorstep. And for Hove Rugby Club, what a fitting year for them to celebrate 35 years of their women's section and 10 years of their girls programme. They're hoping that this World Cup will provide a lasting legacy by inspiring more women and girls to take part. Celebrating over 3 decades of women's rugby here in Hove, multi-generations of players came together in this exhibition touch match. Hove Old Girls, or Hogs, were those who broke down stereotypes in the women's game, and today's first team are those reaping the benefits of their trailblazing.
We're having to wait for the referees to shower because there's only one set of showers. There's nowhere for women to shower separately from the men, so we're sort of hanging around soaking wet, muddy, waiting to get into a shower. But you know, the spirit and the love of rugby and the girls cracking on and playing was always there, so that hasn't changed much. The fun of the game hasn't changed.
And that love comes with a very competitive edge too, with women's leagues now structured right up to the semi-professional Premiership. There is a clear pathway for those coming to clubs like Hove, for players such as B, who joined at 12 and is now 19.
I like the competitive side of it. Last season we were in a pretty hard league, so I enjoyed that we had to be competitive to keep our fight, but I also just enjoy the teams bonding and team fitness, that we're all here together for one another. It's not an individual sport.
Hove Rugby Club now has a thriving girls section, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. They field teams from under 12 to under 18.
With the Home World Cup, we are going to see so many more girls playing rugby, so many more girls trying rugby maybe, and even if they find that's not for them, finding sport, maybe going to another team sport. I think having the Lionesses this year has increased girls football, and having the Red Roses can only increase participation in girls rugby. Anyone who's wanting to be a Red Rose, the most important thing is to pick up a ball and give it a try.
If we're talking legacy, well, this is it in motion. This club hopes that the World Cup coming to this city will inspire these girls and many more to play and stay in this sport.
You get women of all backgrounds, all shapes and sizes playing rugby, and I think being part of a team is where you feel most at home. I found family here, so yeah, everyone is welcome in rugby.
Come on girls, go! Go on mate! This club has a proud history in women's rugby. It's hoped a World Cup right on their doorstep will mean a very bright future too. Well, going on behind me here is a women's walking rugby session. So let's just call over the coach now, who is Manjinder Nagra, herself a former international rugby player. Manjinder, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Just tell us, you've coached and played in this city. How exciting is it to have a World Cup on your doorstep?
It's amazing to have a World Cup on our doorstep, to show our beautiful game off to the world. I mean, these opportunities don't come often enough in my view. I think we need a World Cup every single year.
And you've been working really hard to make this game more diverse, more multicultural. Just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Yeah, so when I started playing about 30 years ago, there weren't many women that looked like me. So what I'm trying to do is actually take our game to our communities. As you can see, there is involvement, there is engagement. If they see visibility, there is some possibility for them. And I set up a multicultural women's group, 6 months ago, none of them had ever touched a rugby ball before, and now I've got them all playing walking rugby, and they absolutely love it, and it's so joyous to see women from such varied communities involved in the game.
And Ginger, we'll have to leave it there. I'll let you get on with your coaching. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Well, if you don't have tickets for the stadium this weekend, don't worry, you can get down here to the fan zone to watch all the action live here on the big screen. It really does promise to be a real party atmosphere, as you can probably hear from the music going on. Ellie?
It looks like a lot of fun, and the weather's going to be nice as well. Thank you very much for the moment. Well, you can read about the stars of the tournament on the BBC Women's Summer of Sport website. Scan that QR code there on your screen now, and of course you can always keep right up to date on the Red Roses' progress against Australia tomorrow by tuning into BBC Radio Sussex and watching coverage on BBC Two. That's from 4:35. Well, I mentioned the weather, but what do I know? Nina's here to tell us how it's actually going to be.
No, it is dry and sunny. It's going to last. Hard to believe after the week's weather we've had with all of that rain and torrential downpours. So a bit of a pleasure to bring you some Weather Watcher pictures showing blue skies from today. And we will keep that sunshine. High pressure has built in for most of the weekend. Dry and bright. Through Sunday, we'll just need to watch the forecast into the afternoon. We may pick up one or two very light showers, but that high pressures brought a southerly wind as well. The winds will strengthen for the second half of the weekend. Sunday should be breezier, and you can see this weather front is just pushing to the northwest of us. We're on the tail end of it on Sunday, hence the fact we may just pick up some cloudier skies for the second half of Sunday. But very little cloud to take us through this evening and overnight tonight. We've got light winds, so with the clear spells it could allow some patchy mist and fog to have formed first thing tomorrow morning, and temperatures across inland areas down into single figures. We'll start the day at around about 8 to 9 degrees. If we do get some of that mist and fog, it will gradually clear during the morning. Things will brighten up and we'll have some sunny spells into the afternoon with some patchy fair weather cloud, and temperatures maybe a degree or so higher than today's values, 22 to 23 degrees. It's a dry and a sunny evening, and then as we go through the night into Sunday morning, it stays dry, but there will be more of a breeze, and with the air getting warmer, a much milder night. In fact, Sunday morning starting the day with temperatures in the mid-teens. And we start Sunday with that sunshine, a warm and a bright morning. As we head into the afternoon, the forecast currently picks up more cloud from the west. Any of these showers should be fairly isolated and well scattered, but there is the possibility of one or two. I think many places will stay dry, with again those temperatures into the low 20s. Generally staying on the drier side for the start of next week, but as the week goes on, signs that low pressure will return, making things cooler and cloudier. Ellie.
I feel like it's the final hurrah this weekend. We need to get the barbecues out. Thank you very much, Nina. That is it from all of us here for the moment. Linda Hardy, though, is back with your late news at 10:30. Bye-bye.